Shall I start?
Yes, ma'am. Please start.
Good morning, dear students. Welcome to the statewide lectures. Today's now Science-2 and chapter name is Towards Green Energy. Today's topic is wind energy. So on Monday we have started this chapter and detailed introduction was given. We have learned about thermal power plants, nuclear power plants. Yesterday we had seen the advantages and disadvantages of hydroelectric power plants as well as the different types of turbines. And today we are seeing wind energy. The rotating blades drive the turbine and the turbine in turns drives the generator to generate electricity. Okay. This is the picture of wind energy. The rotating blades, see the rotating blades like fans, and the turbine in the turn drives the generator to generate electricity. The machine which converts kinetic energy to wind into electrical energy is called wind turbine. Okay, machines are working. The machine which converts kinetic energy of wind into electrical energy is called wind turbine. This is the internal structure. What are the things? That is gearbox. Then it is in the generator and the axle. So the function of gearbox is to increase the rotations per unit time. So what is the function of the gearbox? That to increase the rotations per unit time. So production of electricity from wind energy, parts of windmill, how it works, advantages and disadvantages, we are going to see in this lecture. When the fast moving wind strikes the blades of the turbine, the blade starts rotating. Okay, so wind should be fast moving wind strikes the blades of the turbine, the blade starts rotating. Wind energy power stations cannot be established everywhere as the wind velocity necessary for the wind energy generation is not available everywhere. Okay. Everywhere we cannot establish the wind energy power stations because everywhere the wind is not same. Wind energy is not available everywhere. So there we have to study where we will get more wind, and according to that the blades rotate and then the velocity should be high and then the electricity is generated. Depending on the wind velocity available at the site of installation, a wind turbine with specific capacity is selected. Okay. Now see the blade length 1.5 meter and capacity is 2. So it is used for the home. Okay. Then wind farm, the blade length should be 50 meters, and offshore wind turbine, the blade length is 100 meter. So depending on the wind velocity available at the site of installation, a wind turbine capacity with specific capacity is selected. Minimum wind speed for satisfactory working of a wind generator and power generation is 14 to 16 kilometers per hour. So there should be a minimum speed for the satisfactory working. Okay, अगर wind ही नहीं है, then it will be of no use to install the wind power plant. So you have to, the researchers mainly study that the minimum speed for the satisfactory working of wind generator and power generation is 14 to 16 kilometers per hour. Places like seashore where wind velocity is usually high are the only places that are appropriate for installation of wind turbines. Okay, so जो seashore के passes जो places होते हैं where the wind velocity is usually high, continuous wind is there, and the only place that are appropriate for installation of wind turbines. The kinetic energy of wind can be converted to electrical energy with the help of wind turbine. Such kinetic energy of wind was used for lifting of water, for driving, flour mill, etc. in olden times. When the wind strikes the blades of the turbine, the blades rotate. The axle of the turbine and electric generator are connected to the gearbox, which increases the rotations per unit time. The rotating blades drive the turbine, which in turn drives the generator and produces electricity. So this is the way the gearbox, the generator in the wind power plants works and generate electricity. This is the wind flow. How we get wind energy? Okay, in daytime, wind air over land rises, and in night, warmer over water rises. These are the parts of windmill. Wind kinetic energy is coming, and then this is the blades, wind turbine. This is the shaft. This is a big pole, small electric generator, and then electricity or the electrical energy is produced. Now working of a electric generator. This is the diagram, how it is working. Working of wind generator. Wind turbines can produce electricity from less than 1 kilowatt to about 7 megawatt. The installation of windmills to produce electricity from the wind energy depends upon the factors that we will see. This is the olden days windmill. See, this was the use in olden days. Now we have seen the wind power plants of the modern technology. This one, the wind velocity available at the site of installation, then geographical factors should be studied. appropriate for installation of wind turbines are done at particular places that we have seen near seashore. Seashore is the most suitable place for installation as here the wind velocity is more. Wind energy is a clean energy source, but due to the wind velocity problems, its use is limited. Now, where it is used in boats, vehicles, for the which as stored as the electrical energy stored in generator, it is used in the this signals. So the windmill, the blades, the rotator, and the tower. These are the main things. जो gearbox है अंदर, that is, it consists of pitch system, low speed shaft, gearbox, high speed shaft. Okay. Turbines are created to produce electricity using wind energy. Okay. Types of turbines we had seen yesterday. So the rotator consists of shaft. It is rotating and the energy is stored in the generator and then just converted into electrical energy. Now the turbine is a device with the blades. When the flow of liquid or gas is directed on the blades of the turbine, they rotate. Here the wind is playing the role. The rotation produces kinetic energy. This turbine is then used to rotate the magnet in the electrical generator. For this purpose, the turbines are connected with the generators. The magnets rotate and produce electric energy by the electromagnetic induction. So using this windmill, wind energy empowers the generator that generate electricity. Turbines, now here the turbines are of two types in the wind energy. Which are the two types? This is horizontal axis and vertical axis. Okay. Wind energy में two types के turbines है. First is horizontal axis and second is vertical axis. Horizontal axis wind turbines are more common. Wherever you will if you're traveling from the train at the high peak, then you will be able to see the wind power plants. Horizontal axis, these are very common. In case of horizontal axis wind turbines, the rotating axis of turbine is parallel to the ground. See, in this case, the horizontal axis, the turbine's rotating axis of turbines is parallel to the ground. This type of wind turbines are very high and their cost is too very high. Okay, so installation is not very cheap. For the wind turbines, it is very costly. Excuse me. They are installed at the places where the wind conditions are very consistent. Okay, where the wind flow should be consistent, then only it will work. So before the installations, deep studies should be done that the wind conditions are very consistent. We'll see the vertical axis wind turbine. The rotating axis of turbine is vertical to the ground. They are primarily used in small wind projects and residential applications. Okay, these are the vertical wind turbines. They are used for the small wind projects. Okay, very will get very less energy, electrical energy in the residential applications. Vertical axis wind turbine are primarily used in small wind projects and residential applications. They are able to work in places where the wind conditions are not very consistent. They can rotate even in lower wind conditions. Okay, जहाँ wind condition बहुत कम है, लो है, वहाँ पर भी they can rotate. They are not very high, they are closer to the ground. Okay, जैसे horizontal axis जो बड़े बड़े होते हैं वैसे नहीं है ये. They are not very high and they are close to the ground. They are क्वाइटर मतलब बहुत आवाज़ नहीं होती है उसकी, जो वर्टिकल सॉरी हॉरिजॉन्टल विंड पावर प्लांट्स है उनका बहुत ज़्यादा आवाज़ होता है. दे आर क्लोजर टू द ग्राउंड. They are quieter and bird friendly, that is the less bird are harmed in case of vertical axis wind turbine, as the blades are wind is flow is high and the blades are rotating. Then if the birds are flying near, then the birds get harmed and then they die. So in this case vertical axis wind turbine, less birds are harmed in case of vertical axis wind turbine. A wind farm provides electricity enough for a small city. So this is a picture of wind farm and it is providing electricity that will be enough for a small city. Now, the Denmark country. Okay, Denmark generates 40% of its electricity from wind. Denmark जो city है, it is generating 40% of its electricity from wind. More than 80 countries in the world are generating power using wind farms. In the world, more than 80 countries in the world are generating power using wind farms. Now, what are the disadvantages of wind energy? Okay, advantage that we are getting energy, electrical energy, but what are the disadvantages? Wind operated power plant and fossil fuel power plant. Okay, we have to differentiate between these two. Almost all cities can generate their own electricity with such wind farms and escape the use of fossil fuels and other non-renewable sources of energy. Okay, fossil fuels they are if we are using, and it is we have seen in the nuclear power plants and thermal power plants, it is causing a very, what will say, very harm to us, as it is creating lots of pollution. So this is the alternative option, that almost all cities can generate their own electricity with such wind farms. Advantages, what are the advantages of wind energy? Okay, you may get a question like this. Write the two advantages of wind energy. Excellent alternatives to fossil fuels. जो हम लोग fossil fuel use नहीं करना चाहते, that is just creating lots of pollution, as we have to conserve our environment. So this is the excellent alternative to fossil fuels. Available in plenty. Okay, wind is available in plenty, renewable, widely distributed, clean source of energy. इसमें pollution नहीं होता है. It is a clean source, and electricity generated to wind energy are truly eco-friendly. Produces no greenhouse gas emissions during operations. Greenhouse gases emission नहीं होती है. Uses very little land in contrast to solar power plants. Solar power plants that we will study, that will be the last part of our this chapter towards green energy. So I mean, we have to compare the wind energy as well as solar energy power plants. So uses very little land in contrast to solar power plants. Solar power plants को ज़्यादा जगह लगती है, इसमें wind energy में कम लगती है. Inexpensive sources of electricity. Okay, ज़्यादा expenses नहीं है. Cheaper than coal or gas plants. It is very cheap as compared to coal or gas power plants. Now, what are the disadvantages? Comparing these two on their life cycle basis, wind operated power plants are more competitive and much less costlier. Okay, as compared to the fossil fuel power plants, wind power plants are more competitive and much less costlier. What are the disadvantages? Wind power is not very consistent throughout the year. Okay, पूरे साल जो wind की consistency है वो same नहीं होती है. Okay? Wind energy can be used in conjunction with some other electric power source. Generating wind power requires very high initial investment, which is even more than a fossil fuel generators. So this is the disadvantage, that it requires very high initial investment, which is even more than the fossil fuel generators. Again, we'll continue of the disadvantages. A large number of birds are killed due to wind power plants. Okay, as the blades are running, so rotating very fast, so large number of birds are killed due to wind power plants. Almost all good wind sites are often located at very far locations from the cities. Okay, all the good wind sites, they are often located at very far locations from the cities. बहुत cities से बहुत दूर होते हैं. Electricity generated by wind power plants is required to be transported to very far cities. So electricity generate इससे जो होती है, it requires to be transported from the place to the cities. Is very far. The term wind energy or wind power describes the process by which the wind is used to generate mechanical power or electricity. Wind turbines convert the kinetic energy into wind into mechanical power. So this is the how the wind is generated. The term wind energy or wind power describes the process by which wind is used to generate mechanical power or electricity. Wind turbines convert the kinetic energy in the wind into mechanical power. Turbine configurations. Electricity from these turbines is fed into a utility. Wind turbines are often grouped together into a single wind power plant, also known as a wind farm, okay, and generate bulk electricity, power grid, and distribute it to the customers just with the conventional power plants. So ये देखो wind farm. It is called wind farm. Wind turbines are often grouped together into a single wind power plant, also known as a wind farm, and generate जो electricity generate होती है, it is in the bulk power grid and distributed to the customers just as with conventional power plants. Wind turbine size and power ratings. Wind turbines are available in a variety of sizes and therefore power ratings. The largest machine has blades that span more than a length of a football field. The stands 20 building stories high and produces enough electricity to power 1,400 homes. So wind turbines are available in the variety of sizes that we have seen for home appliances, for small cities, and for the to generate more electricity. Therefore, the power ratings. The largest machine has the blades. Largest जो machine है उसका blades that spans more than the length of a football field. You must have imagined the football field. Stands 20 building stories high and produces enough electricity to power more than 1,400 homes. A small size wind machine has rotators between 8 and 25 feet in diameter and stand upwards of 30 feet and can supply the power needs of an all electric home or small business. Utility scale turbines range in size from 50 to 750 kilowatts. Single small turbines below 50 kilowatts are used for homes telecommunications. Okay. जो होम साइज के लिए है उनके जो the machine the rotator between 8 to 25 feet in diameter and stand जो उसका बड़ा stand होता है it should be 30 feet and can supply power needs to all electric home or small business. Okay. Now, what are the advantages and disadvantages of wind generated electricity that we have seen? Renewable non polluting resource. Wind energy is a free renewable resource, so no matter how much it is used today, there will be still the same supply in the future. Wind energy is also a source of clean, non polluting electricity. Unlike conventional power plants, wind plants emit no air pollutants or greenhouse gases. This is the main advantage, that is not producing any air pollution, any type of pollution. It is a clean source of energy and it will be how much we are going to use today, there will be still same supply in the future. So we have to think about the future. Now, what are the cost issues? Even though the cost of wind power has decreased dramatically in the past 10 years, पहले जो नए नए आता है, so it was costing very high. Now due to more research, the wind power has decreased dramatically in the cost is decreased in the last 10 years. The technology requires a higher initial investment than fossil fuel generators. Okay, जो fossil fuels investment लगता है, initial investment, उससे इसका ज़्यादा है. It requires higher initial investment than fossil fuel generators. Roughly 80% of the cost is machinery, with the balance being site preparation and installation. So इसका जो cost है वो 80% किस में है? मशीनरी में, with the balance being and site preparation and installations. If wind generating systems are compared with fossil fuel systems on a life cycle cost basis, that is counting fuel and operating expenses for the life of generator, however, wind costs are much more competitive with other generating technologies because there is no fuel to purchase and minimal operating systems. Okay. Counting fuel and operating expenses for the life of the generator. However, wind costs are much more competitive with other generating technologies because there is no fuel. Fuel ही लगता नहीं है. In other power plants, we need fuel. Supply and transport issues. The major challenge to using wind as a source of power is that it is intermittent and does not always blow when electricity is needed. Wind cannot be stored. Okay, wind हम लोग store नहीं कर सकते. Although wind generated electricity can be stored if batteries are used. जो विंड पावर प्लांट्स में अगर हम लोग इलेक्ट्रिसिटी जनरेट करते हैं देन इट कैन बी स्टोर्ड इन द बैटरीज बट वी कैन नॉट स्टोर विंड एंड नॉट ऑल winds can be harnessed to meet the timing of the electricity demand. Wind is a free and the power it generates has been harnessed for centuries. Wind is completely renewable resource because it is something that occurs naturally. Once the means are there, technologically and practically, it can be harnessed constantly without destructive effects, that is, emissions and use of resources to abuse the planet, to our abused planet. Generations and maintenance costs for turbines have decreased significantly in the recent years. Wind power is well suited to the rural areas. Rural areas में बहुत ज़्यादा जगह होती है as compared to the urban areas. So this is a very good option for the generation of electricity, to generate the electricity. Now modern technology, new urban rooftops windmills are new windmills with a smaller and quieter design. These windmills are designed to be more efficient with wind patterns occurring in cities. They are able to turn at wind speeds as low as. So, what is wind energy? Wind energy is the transformation of the kinetic energy of the wind into mechanical or electrical energy that can be harnessed for practical use. Now, this we have seen the big these machines of wind farm. If you want to utilize windmill for your house. Then it is due to modern technology, it is designed new urban rooftops. Okay, with a smaller and quieter design. इसका आवाज बहुत कम है and the design is small. You can see here how it is designed, very less space as compared to this wind farm near the seashore. A single megawatt windmill turbine operating at a 45% production rate will generate about 3.9 million kilowatt of electricity in a year. This would be enough to meet the needs of about 500 households per year. A wind farm will consist of anywhere from 12 to 100 of these 1 megawatt windmills. See the vehicles it is creating, it is emission, carbon dioxide, and if you will use the fossil fuels for generating the electricity, again we are that the air quality we are depleting, and this is the emissions, gas emission is directly so one a single 1 megawatt wind turbine operating at a 45% production rate will generate about 3.9 million kilowatts of electricity in a year, and this will be enough to meet the 500 households per year. Okay? 500 households for the per year. Other options for alternative energy. Wind alone cannot solve today's energy crisis in one day, but together with many other forms of renewable power, maybe someday we can help relieve the damage to our planet caused by the overconsumption of fossil fuels. Okay, again we have to find out the alternative options for the energy. So wind alone cannot solve today's energy crisis in one day, but together with many other forms of renewable power, maybe someday we can help to relieve the damage that what damage we have caused to our planet due to the overconsumption of fossil fuels. Okay, air pollution, water pollution, sound pollution, everything is getting polluted because of the overconsumption. So we have to be take care, we have to conserve our planet. New energy is needed. It is clear that the energy crisis in the world it is right now is not going to get any better without drastic change. We have technologies that could lead us into the future, but people need to accept these changes and try to cut down on their consumption. There are lots of forms of power that could work together to light our future, but first we need to stop our dependence on destructive fossil fuels and start working on the difficulties that could arise from new forms of power. Okay. Now this is the picture, Jaisalmer wind farm, the second largest offshore wind farm in the world. Jaisalmer in Rajasthan. This is the second largest offshore wind farm in the world. Now this is London Array, world largest onshore wind farm. You can see in the London, this is the world largest onshore wind farm. Advantages we have seen: the wind is free. With modern technology it can be captured efficiently. Once the wind turbine is built, the energy is produced does not cause greenhouse gases or other pollutants. This is the main advantage. Although wind turbines can be very tall, each takes up only a small plot of land. This means that the land below can still be used. This is especially the case in agriculture areas as farming can still continue. This is also good. जो ऊपर का उसका ब्लेड्स का जो है एक टॉवर है एंड देन द ब्लेड्स, सो नीचे का जो लैंड है इट कैन स्टिल बी यूज फॉर एज इन द एग्रीकल्चर पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू फॉर फार्मिंग. Many people find wind farms an interesting feature of the landscape. Remote areas that are not connected to the electricity power grid can use wind turbines to produce their own supply. Wind turbines have a role to play in both the developed and the third world. Okay, wind turbines have the role to play in both the developed and it is the third in the world. Wind turbines are available in range of size, which means a vast range of people and businesses can use them. So these are the main advantages of wind power. As the energy crisis in the world, we know that we are not going to get any better without drastic change. But we have technologies that could lead us into the future, but people need to escape these changes and try to cut down their own consumption. There are lots of forms of power that need to stop our dependence on destructive fossil fuels and start working on the difficulties that could arise from new forms of power. So, thank you very much. Here we have completed the wind, that is the source of electricity. We have seen the advantages, disadvantages, how it's working, what are the things used, how the machinery working, everything we have seen. Now only the last part of the chapter is remaining, that is the solar energy, how it's work, what are the advantages, disadvantages, that we will see in the last lecture of this chapter, last session of this chapter. But if you any students have any queries, please raise your hand and ask the question.
Those who are raising their hands, students, unmute yourself. Arjun. Sumit Prajapati. Unmute yourself. Ask your doubt. You are raising your hands. Sumit Prajapati.
हेलो मैम.
Yes.
मैम आपने जो वो विंड एनर्जी के बारे में बताया, तो मैम
हाँ.
उसके वजह से हार्मफुल्स भी होते हैं. और जैसे बाजू में कोई अगर घर हो, किसी के खेत वगैरह में हो, तो खेत
खेत बेटा, जब वही तो साइट हम लोगों को स्टडी करनी पड़ती है। ओके, साइट सिलेक्शन के बाद अगर वहाँ पे विंड अवेलेबल है, कंसिस्टेंसी ऑफ द विंड इज देयर, देन ओनली वी कैन सिलेक्ट दैट साइट। अगर वो पहला क्राइटेरिया है कि विंड वहाँ अवेलेबल है क्या, वो देखना है। फिर हम लोगों को लेंथ डिसाइड करनी है, उसकी हाइट डिसाइड करनी है। सो कहीं भी अभी बर्ड्स इतना फ्लाई करते हैं ऊपर से, तो थोड़ा हार्म तो बर्ड्स के लिए, इसलिए वो डिसएडवांटेज में कि बर्ड्स आर गेटिंग हार्म्ड। सो वो एक डिसएडवांटेज रहने वाला है, बट ड्यू टू फार्मिंग, फार्मिंग का कुछ इशू नहीं है उसमें,
टीचर
फार्मिंग
बट
के लिए। हाँ बोलो।
टीचर बट ह्यूमंस के लिए भी हार्मफुल होता, जो उसके नजदीक में रहते हैं, जैसे बाय चांस किसी का होम हो गया तो वो तो उसके लिए हार्मफुल होता है, विंड एनर्जी के बारे में बाजू में रहेगा तो।
हाँ तो वर्टिकल, ये हॉरिजॉन्टल के लिए हो गया, वर्टिकल का ज़्यादा इशू नहीं है। ओके, वर्टिकल तो वो कैन, दे कैन यूज फॉर वर्टिकल सेकेंड टाइप एक्सेस टर्बाइन। सब लोगों ने जो देखा है विंड का, एक वो हॉरिजॉन्टल है जो इसके बड़े बड़े ब्लेड्स है, और जो सेकंड वन देखा है हम लोगों ने, दैट इज वर्टिकल। सो दे कैन ऑप्ट, दे कैन गो फॉर द वर्टिकल विंड टर्बाइंस।
ओके मैम, थैंक यू मैम।
ओके, वेलकम।
Next, Anand.
Hello, ma'am.
यस, बोलो।
Ma'am, I did not understand disadvantages of wind energy.
डिसएडवांटेजेस और एडवांटेजेस।
Disadvantages of wind energy.
डिसएडवांटेज विंड एनर्जी, डिसएडवांटेजेस ये है
Yes, ma'am.
कि ये कॉस्टलियर है। फर्स्ट थिंग, इट इज़ वेरी कॉस्टलियर एज कंपेयर टू द फॉसिल फ्यूल प्लांट्स। एंड सेकेंड, एज द विंड इज कंसिस्टेंटली फ्लोइंग, उसकी वजह से जो ब्लेड्स उसके जो रोटेट होते हैं, अगर बाय मिस्टेक वहाँ से बर्ड्स दे आर फ्लाइंग, सो बर्ड्स इसकी वजह से हार्म हो सकते हैं। ओके, और इसका जो जो विंड ब्लेड्स जो रोटेट होती है, इसका
Okay, ma'am.
आवाज़ बहुत होता है। तो these are the some advantages, sorry, disadvantages of wind energy. Okay.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Okay, welcome.
Yes, ma'am.
Next, Anjali Gupta. You are raising your hand, beta. Ask your doubt,
मैम
Anjali.
एडवांटेजेस ऑफ विंड पावर का क्या है?
ये एडवांटेजेस ये है कि इसमें कोई एयर पोल्यूशन नहीं होता है। इट इज़ नॉट क्रिएटिंग एनी काइंड ऑफ पोल्यूशन। जो इलेक्ट्रिसिटी हमको मिलती है, दैट इज़ इको फ्रेंडली, क्लीन एनर्जी। ये एक मेन
Next,
एडवांटेज है इसका।
next, Vishwajit. Vishwajit, you are raising your hand. Vishwajit, you are raising your hand. Unmute yourself, ask your doubt. Any other students, still any doubts? Please raise your hand. Okay, ma'am, no one is raising the hands now. I think the doubts are clear. They've
Okay,
understood everything.
okay.
And ma'am, it was really very nice presentation.
Thank you very
Students
much.
have really, with the help of pictures, they have understood the topic which is being taught today. So I hope they'll revise it again, and still any doubts in the next lecture, you can get it clear, students.
Yeah, yeah, sure,
Okay,
sure.
ma'am, can you
Thank you,
wind up
dear
now?
students. Thank you, dear teachers. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you.